Alright, so this video is about finding the circumcenter of a triangle. So the circumcenter is the intersection of the perpendicular bisectors of the sides of the triangle. So a perpendicular bisector is a line that cuts another line in two and is obviously perpendicular to it. So to find the perpendicular bisector of the side of a triangle, we will get the midpoint of that side. The perpendicular bisector will go through the midpoint. We will find the slope of the side, then flip it and change the sign to get the slope of the perpendicular bisector. Then I have the midpoint, a point that the perpendicular bisector goes through, and the slope of the perpendicular bisector, so I can get its equation. If I do that for two different sides, get two different equations, find their point of intersection, I will find the circumcenter of the triangle. So, an example. The vertices of a triangle are -4, 3, 0, -5, and 3, 4. Find the coordinates of the circumcenter. So, I am going to find the midpoint of, so pick two sides. So let's say find the midpoint of AB. So that looks like it's going to be around about here. And then I'm going to find, then I'm going to get its perpendicular bisector. So a perpendicular line through that midpoint would look something like that. Then I'm going to do the same for another side. So let's say BC. So midpoint of that looks like it's, I don't know, roughly here. And then a line perpendicular to that will look something like that. So based on that, my point is going to be around about here. Now, that's kind of a rough sketch. I don't know if they're exactly perpendicular. I don't know that I exactly found the midpoints, but that's where I'd look to find it. Okay, I only need to find two. You could find the perpendicular bisector of AC either. If I did that, say midpoints around about there, perpendicular line to that will be something like that. So it's finding, roughly the same point. So I would expect my answer to be in and around 0, 0. It looks like it's a little bit to the right of it, a little bit above it, but we'll find out exactly what that will be in a minute. So what do we need to do? Find the midpoint of AB. So A is -4, 3. B is 0, -5. So let's call that x1, y1, x2, y2. Midpoint then of AB is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So x1 plus x2 over 2 is -4 plus 0 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2, 3 plus -5 over 2. So -4 over 2 is -2. 3 plus -5 is 3 minus 5. That's -2. -2 divided by 2 is -1. So the midpoint of AB is -2, -1, and that's where I estimated it would be. So I'm now looking to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. So it bisects AB, so it's going through the midpoint of AB. So I have my point on the perpendicular bisector. I just need to find the slope of the perpendicular bisector. So I don't have information to get that directly, But what I can do is get the slope of AB and then flip it and change the sign, and that will be the slope of the perpendicular bisector. So the slope of AB is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1 is minus 5 minus 3 over x2 minus x1, 0 minus minus 4. So that is minus 8 over 4, which is minus 2. So the slope of AB is minus 2. Yep, that makes sense. It's going down from left to right, so it should be negative. So the slope, so minus 2 is the same thing as minus 2 over 1. So the slope then of a perpendicular line will be flip it and change the sign. So that is plus 1 over 2. So that perpendicular bisector there has a slope of a half and goes through the point minus 2 minus 1. So I can get the equation of that. Y minus y1 equals m on x minus x1. So y, so this is my point, so this is my x1, y1. So y minus minus 1 is equal to, my slope is a half. So a half on x minus x1 then is minus 2. So y minus minus 1 is y plus 1 equals a half on x plus 2. I think I'll get rid of the fraction here, so I'll multiply across by 2 to get rid of the half. So that'll give me 2y plus 2 equals x plus 2. So multiplying the right hand side by 2 just gets rid of that, multiplied by a half, so you're just left with the x plus 2, but don't forget to multiply the left hand side as well. Looking ahead, I'm going to solve this as a simultaneous equation, so I'm going to get my x and y on one side and my numbers on the other. So bringing the x over, I get minus x plus 2y, and then bringing my 2 over to the right hand side, 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. So there is one of my equations of my perpendicular bisectors. So the other one I said I would get is BC. So B is 0 minus 5 and C is 3, 4. So B is 0 minus 5 and C is 3, 4. 0 minus 5 and 3, 4. So get the midpoint of that. So x1, y1, x2, y2. Midpoint of BC is again x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. x1 plus x2 is 0 plus 3 over 2. y1 plus y2 is minus 5 plus 4 over 2. 0 plus 3 over 2 is 3 over 2, which is 1.5. Minus 5 plus 4 is minus 1, so minus 1 over 2, so minus a half or minus 0.5. So that's my midpoint of BC, so 1.5 minus 0.5. Yeah, that's roughly where I estimated it would be. So if I have a graph, kind of use it to sense check my answers. I'm now going to get the slope of BC, flip it and change the sign, and that will give me the slope of the perpendicular bisector. So the slope of BC is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1 is 4 minus minus 5 over x2 minus x1 is 3 minus 0. So that is 9 over 3. So that is a slope of 3 over 1. So that's the slope of BC. The slope then of a perpendicular line is minus 1 over 3. So I now have my slope and my point, so I'm ready to get the equation of that line. So I'll call this x1, y1, and here's my slope, minus 1 over 3. So equation is y minus y1 equals m on x minus x1. So y minus y1, y minus 0.5 equals m is minus a third on x minus x1, x minus 1.5. So y plus a half, or y plus 0.5 is equal to minus a third on x minus 1.5. I want to get rid of the fraction, so I'm going to multiply across by 3. So 3y plus 3 times 0.5 is 1.5 equals minus 1 over 3 multiplied by 3 is minus 1 on x minus 1.5. So 3y plus 1.5 equals minus x plus 1.5, multiply the minus 1 in. Again, I want to get everything over to one side. So bring the minus x over, I get plus x plus 3y equals, if I bring the 1.5 over, it becomes minus 1.5, 1.5, minus 1.5 is 0. So there is my second equation, okay? So they are the equations of the two perpendicular bisectors. So I'm just looking for the point of intersection between them, so just solve them simultaneously. So minus x plus 2y is my other one. So minus x plus 2y equals 0. There's my two equations. I've got x and minus x, so I'm ready to solve these. Add them together. X minus x is 0. 3y plus 2y is 5y. 0 plus 0 is 0. So 5y equals 0 means divide both sides by 5. You just get y equals 0. To solve for x then, just sub it into either equation. I'll sub it into the x plus 3y. X plus 3 times 0 equals 0. 3 times 0 is 0. So again, I just get x equals 0. So the point is 0, 0. So find the coordinates of the circumcenter. It is 0, 0. And that was pretty close to where it was on my diagram. So it looked to me like it might be just ever so slightly to the right and up, but it was a rough sketch. 0, 0 is where it was. When I added that third one, so midpoint of AC, say, it looked like that would be around about here, and then a line perpendicular to that. Yeah, would roughly take me through 0, 0 as well. So there is the circumcenter. So it is the point of intersection between the perpendicular bisectors of the sides. So you get the midpoint of a side, you get the slope of a side, you get the slope of a line perpendicular to the side, then you have the slope and a point on the perpendicular bisector, so you can get its equation. Do that once. Do it twice. Once you have the equations of two bisectors, solve them simultaneously, and you will get the circumcenter of the triangle. And in this case, it was 0, 0.